Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be assembling this Christmas tree, Raspberry Pi Christmas tree from the Pi Hut. It's just one of these PCB based Christmas trees. You can see it's in three parts. It's got the main part and then a couple of side parts that clip on, basically, with a load of resistors that go through there and then LEDs scattered all over the place. So in this bag we have right angled header for connecting the tree to a Raspberry Pi, a whole load of red LEDs, there's a single white LED there, and then a band of resistors. So as I mentioned in the stream description, this shouldn't be anything like challenging, nothing like these snowflakes that I was doing yesterday with 0402 resistors, 0402 LEDs rather. Yeah, well, it was the LEDs that were the difficult part. But I've now got all 5 of these done, and they look really nice. Just a case of being able to program them now, because as I said in that stream, it's a 1.25 mil pitch header on the thing, which I don't have any cables for, so I'm going to order some stuff from DigiKey, some Adafruit programming cables and adapters and stuff, and then I should be able to get going with that. The Adafruit stuff itself is only a few quid, but of course then you need to make up a £30 order to get free delivery from DigiKey, so I'm going to have to order a load of stuff that I don't necessarily need immediately, but it'll be fine. I've always got a large pile of stuff on DigiKey that I would like to get at some point, so I can just add some stuff from my wish list, basically, and it'll be good. I also have near me a Raspberry Pi Zero, a Pibo Zero W, Raspberry Pi Zero W, that is, Pibo Zero W, and an SD card, so we can get this set up on a Raspberry Pi Zero later once it's assembled, which shouldn't take long. And from the looks of the documentation on the website, you can just download a quick or install a quick package and then basically copy paste their own little software script thing, and then it'll just make the lights flash on and off, which should be good enough for a demonstration. So let's get this out of the packaging. Nice gold trim around the edge. That looks like everything. Try and separate things out a bit. Yeah, decent chunk of resistors. Yeah, this feels really nice. So grab the stick vise. I'm loving this thing. It is very nice. There we go. I think the camera may have shifted a bit since I set things up. That's disconcerting. I'll just move it there a bit. Right. So the instructions say we should start with all the resistors, which just go along this band down the bottom. And then we fit all the LEDs, which go wherever there's a number. So we've got number 1, 10, 9, 3, 17, and then a couple more over there, and then you flip it over, and there are some LEDs that go on the back side as well, and then that sits in there, so it can sit onto a Raspberry Pi. So lots of soldering ahead of us, but as I say, it should be nice and simple. Let's start by just cutting out these LEDs, resistors even. Big Clive style, just chop them out. Now, will these bend sensibly? Not perfect. That'll do. Just noticed on this side of the board. Oh, it's okay on that side. On this side, there's solder mask covering up the holes, covering up the entirety of the pads. But on this side, it's all clear, so it's not going to be an issue. It just looks a bit weird. It surprised me. I thought maybe they'd screwed up, but obviously they haven't. I know that they have done tests of this board, plenty of tests. They know it's fine. They weren't going to go selling something that didn't work. Oh, these are very tight spacing on the resistors. Yeah, that's really tight. Let's try bending these a bit more sharply, like that. That's a bit better. It's still a bit tight though. Setting all the resistors the right way around, of course, or at least the same way around. Entirely unnecessary, but it keeps things consistent, and especially in a decorative application like this, consistency and looking good is what you want. Apologies for the echo in yesterday's stream, by the way. I had two microphones going, one on the webcam and one clipped to my t-shirt, and apparently they interacted badly. Kind of annoying because I tested it all beforehand and I didn't hear anything like that, but I've had several reports saying otherwise. Just fumble them, whatever. According to the build guide of this thing, these resistors are supposed to represent presents under the tree, which I suppose works. They more sort of represent presents in the tree, apparently, because there are still branches right down here. But close enough. Half of these still aren't sitting up or sitting down properly. This is a bit irritating. I'm trying to make it all look neat and they just don't sit in their holes properly. Almost done. Interestingly, it doesn't look like I've been supplied with any spare resistors. Normally in kits like this, you get a couple of spares. I did read on Twitter about one of the people who built one of these on the day that they arrived, i.e. yesterday, because they were only posted out on Friday, and then people in the UK mostly received them Saturday. And someone managed to get it built the same day, but I can't remember if it was the resistors or the LEDs that I don't know, they just soldered them incorrectly somehow, and had to rush down to the local Maplin to buy replacements, which is entertaining. I got some tape or something I can put on that. Oh, have we gone out of focus again? That makes a change, doesn't it? Come on, camera. And I'm going to have to be manually focusing again. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to turn my fan on. It's just a little USB fan, and it isn't even pointed at me, but it does help with getting solder flux fumes out of the way. I actually have 2 of these trees to assemble. I'll only stream one of them though. There's not a lot of point in streaming 2 of the same thing. But I fancied having one at work and one at home somewhere. Which means setting up another 2 Raspberry Pis, but I've got so many already that another 2 won't make a lot of difference. I think I'm running 12 Raspberry Pis around the house at the moment. Well, 11 around the house and 1 at work. Okay. They look okay. None of them are sticking up particularly. Happy with that. Now, I believe the instructions suggest that we should then put the LEDs on or something. Oh no, okay. It suggests the GPIO header. That makes sense. So this little thing. And we have accessible solder pads on both sides this time. So I'm going to solder at least 1 pad from the top, just to get it tacked in before I turn it over. If I do turn it over at all, I don't know yet. Yeah, I probably will actually, because this is going to be difficult to do all from the top. Especially the second row. Right. I do need to make sure that this is actually flat though, or straight, because otherwise I'm going to have a wonky Christmas tree. That's close enough. Tack the other corner down while I'm here. Do you think we should remove or cut off the resistor leads? Apparently I forgot to do that. That seems like a good idea, doesn't it? Come on, there we go. If only my hand would stay steady. That would be useful. There we go. GPIO header done. And while we're here, let's deal with these resistor leads. What? In theory, these snips have got a little extra bit of metal there that actually holds on to the leads as they get cut off. In practice, it doesn't always work. But you can see it's held on to 2 of the 3 that I cut off. I think it's a bit more reliable if you're only doing 1 lead at once. But we have far too many to do 1 at once here. These are official Xeron snips, by the way, not the Chinese knockoffs that Big Clive found. These are actual Xeron ones. you won't be able to see because it's not focused, but whatever. Hooray! Now, they say that the LEDs should all go with the negative leg of the LED pointing towards the top of the tree, which is correct, but it also looks like you can see well, in their photo you could see the way the pad connected to the ground plane. I can't see that happening on this one. Maybe it's only on the other side. No, I can't see that happening on any of them. Where the hell did they get that photo taken from then? Excitingly, they've actually, I don't know how well you can see it, but they've actually got sort of a plus and a minus on each LED leg. So just in the solder mask, it's just a plus or a minus around the pad, which is interesting. Never seen that done before, but I suppose it helps. So short leg negative is going towards the top. Indeed, where it's got negative, but only where we've got numbers. Four and 2. 20. That's hitting the stick vise pole, that's helpful. 11. 18. Now that's interesting, they've kept the top of the board rather than top of the tree for these LEDs, so it's still negative lead at the top, up here, rather than the top of the tree. That's an interesting choice. Not sure how I'm going to be doing this. I need to sort of flip it over. I might just have to take it out of the vise and just turn it over onto the mat. And then solder one leg at a time and make sure that they're all straight before I go on to the other leg. Nope, my cat wants to get in. Almost burning my finger on the soldering iron. No, my cat thinks it's tea time, but it's not. It's about an hour before she should be fed. But that doesn't stop her asking well in advance. That looks like all of them. Yeah, none of these are straight, pretty much. They're all at an angle. That one still isn't in. Yeah, they all look straight now. So can solder in the other legs. The LED legs are spiky. Ow! Keep bloody digging into my fingers. Are we going to work? There we go. Ah. Okay, that's that side done. Now for the LEDs that go through from this side. Get the stick vise back in. Oh, that's hit the pole again. And I think this one to it will, yep. Right, same as before. Flip over. It helps that they've all got sort of, I don't know what it is about the legs. It's like they've been pinched or something, but they sort of get wedged in a few millimeters down. So you can turn the board upside down and they don't fall out. They do still get lopsided though, which is why we have to make sure they get aligned after we solder them in. A lot of these are actually okay. Right, all done. Last legs. Excellent. Right. As for the white LED at the top in the star, Apparently it's still a negative short leg towards the top, and indeed on the back we have sort of a plus, and well, we've got a plus, we haven't got a minus. We've got a plus on the positive leg. Ugh. One advantage of surface mount work is you don't end up with a huge pile of leads left over. I mean, I know they can be useful occasionally and it's handy to store some, but especially when they get launched by snips and end up in some obscure corner of the room in the carpet, and then someone treads on it with socks on and they aren't very happy. Ah yes, the headers, these things. We want 7 to go in there and 7 to go in there, and then you should be able to see that these strips down here are actually staggered. So if I snap off 7 here, right, so they one end goes in there and the other, well actually it's a bit tight, but it's intentionally tight. Yeah, so they actually wedge in there with enough force that each pin makes contact without being soldered in. So the two sides of the tree fit into the main part of the tree without needing to be soldered. So it very easily comes, well, sort of flat packs again. Sorry, just my phone going berserk again. Yeah, so where we've got header here, this goes in there with the longer pins going through the holes and being soldered in place there, with the shorter pins overlapping the word header there. That's the way they want it done. Try not to touch the tip of the LEDs with the soldering iron as you go. That would be handy. That's that one. The other one, presumably, yeah, the other one goes on this side. Again, we've got the word header, so the long end of the pins go into the holes. Have they staggered those as well? They have. They've staggered this set, but not that set. That's a bit bizarre. So they're a bit of a tight fit going in there, even though we're soldering them. It's a bit random. yeah, so we're now finished, and we can actually snap this thing out, which is nice. Actually, I'm going to use my other snips for this. The Xeron snips are nice, but because they've got this extra bit of metal here that catches sort of the snapped off leads, it means you can't necessarily get into such fine spaces, because one of the snip blades, I guess, is really quite thick. It sort of gets in the way a bit. So I tend to go for just these engineer snips for that sort of work. And these are very good snips. They just don't. The Xeron snips both hold onto the leads, and they can produce a very flat cut to the pads where it's, you've cut things off. So I'm not sure how well this is going to show, but that particular pair of pads there, it's sort of a very flat blob of solder now, because the Xeron snips just cut straight across, whereas other snips tend to create a peak, sort of a pyramid style thing. Oh, again, we've only drilled on one side. That's interesting. That's not a great place for the mouse bite, right next to the header. So I have to somehow get in there with snips and... Okay. And we're doing similar down here. This is convenient. I mean, I guess there's nowhere else for them to really go in a lot of these cases, but it's a bit weird and annoying. Oh, come on. There we go. Right, hopefully with the main frame off, I'll be able to snap these parts of the tree off a bit more easily. Yeah. I do think we could have done with a drill hole in the middle of these mouse bites. They only had drill holes at the two sides, not in the middle, which leaves a lot of leftover fiberglass in the middle of them, which isn't ideal. And then do we simply just join the two together? Have put the tree like that, with the star on the top and the resistors and the header facing you, and then the side of the tree with the header at the top goes that side apparently, and on with the header at the bottom goes that side with the header away from us. At least they've got a photo of that, and then it just shows it being sort of inserted. So yeah, I guess, well, yeah, it sort of makes sense that this side's got the header at the top and it's facing us, so it needs to go at the top where the header holes are on the left hand side, so that the tree ends up central. And then same on the opposite side. It's a tight fit, but that's intentional, I think. So we now have a tree. now we just have to build a Raspberry Pi to sit it on. So if I put that in, just sit that there, and get rid of that bit of plastic. It's not plastic, is it? It's fiberglass. Bring the stick vise back. That's an SD card. Get the Raspberry Pi Zero W. Of course, that's not going to fit in the stick vise because we've got a nice big camera connector sticking out on the edge. Thank you, that's helpful. How much is that going to crush it? Can I get away with that, do I think? I might be able to just get away with that. And then I've got a long header for the GPIO, so that you can. I use these headers for everything. It's essentially so you can stack hats on top of each other, and then you've also got female on the bottom. So you put that through from the bottom of the Pi, and then you can connect a hat on top, and you still have access to plug-in cables from the bottom if you so wish. It's just very extensible. I buy these by the dozen. Generally, I buy like 30 of them at a time, and I attach them to every Raspberry Pi Zero and every hat that I buy, so that everything can be stacked on top of everything else, and I've got as much flexibility as I can get. They're very handy. So just set this in here, trying to align 40 pins at once. So that's not going to work very well at all, is it? Let's do 1 or 2 pins to hold everything in place, and then put it back in the stick vise so that it's level. Because otherwise it's going to be at this stupid angle and falling over, and it's going to annoy me. Yes, I know, whine, whine, whine. So let's get that corner pin done. Stand it up, hold it in place, take the soldering iron off, let it cool, and then that should now be, yeah, that's now in straight. Nice and straight. So do one on the opposite side, same process. Solder flux spitting up my finger again. It seems like I'm the only person that gets annoyed by that. It hurts. Right, back in the stick vise. Bring that back in so we can see it. And solder the rest of the GPIO pins. Nope, that's a ground pin. Not that Raspberry Pi Zeros have got a lot of mass to suck heat away into. Well, that was a ground pin as well, and that didn't go very well. Let's give that another go. Oh, I know what I forgot to do with that tree. I forgot to clean the solder flux off. That's alright, I can detach it all from itself and then get it cleaned. Another ground. Come on. Seriously? Solder bridge? I never get solder bridges soldering bloody Raspberry Pis. There we go. Right, soldering done. The nice thing about stick vices is they stand up on their end. Super handy. Oh wow, I've just noticed how far these headers stick out. And we can change that, can't we? Oh, bloody hell. Okay, trying to cut multiple of these at once is challenging and creates quite a shower of leads throughout the room. Right, yes, cleaning these. Let's hope that everything survives ethyl acetate. Everything usually does. Of course, that's not really the dirty side. Lots of ethyl acetate lying around. On my fingers, on my clothes, excellent. Unfortunately, it's the best I've found at actually getting rid of the solder flux that my solder uses. Standard isopropyl alcohol just doesn't cut it. Still sticky. Yeah, you generally need a couple of washes of this. The first one gets the flux into just this solution that then sits on the surface, and the second wash actually gets rid of the flux entirely and gets sucked up onto the tissue or whatever. Right, just leave that to dry. Advantage of crazy solvents is that they dry on their own pretty quickly. As for where you get ethyl acetate, eBay, naturally. It's a bit more expensive than acetone. I was able to buy a 5-litre bottle of acetone for about 10 or 15 quid. Ethyl acetate cost me about 15 quid for 1 litre, which is still okay. You don't use a huge amount of it. Acetone was one of those things where it's like 1 litre for 10 quid, or you can pay about £2 more and get 5 times as much. As is often the way with eBay. Certainly I've used more than 1 litre of acetone already, so that's probably paid for itself. This is getting on my fingers a bit more than I like. I don't know if it's harmful, it just leaves my skin white. Probably won't show up yet, but you can kind of see it in my thumb. It's just like white stripes throughout my thumb. It's a bit bizarre. Sorry, I know I've still got focus locked on the down here for making sure that you can actually see what I'm doing, because the camera apparently doesn't know how to autofocus. I won't bother cleaning the Raspberry Pi. I really don't care particularly about the state of the Raspberry Pi PCB as long as it doesn't look awful, which it won't. But these things are going to be examined a bit more carefully, so it'd be nice if they weren't covered in flux. Didn't mean to use the brush there, I meant to pick up the towel. That brush is of course filthy, it's just full of flux and bristles now. It needs a thorough wash, but not got around to that yet. Right, there we go. Let's put this thing back together, now that it's a bit less ugly and covered in flux. Oh shit, dropping stuff off my desk. So I just noticed this. It's kind of annoying. Ah, this is still sticky. How is this still sticky? Or is it just my fingers that are sticky? No, there's still flux all over this board. Awesome. There's the cat again. You probably can't hear her, but she's sort of making whiny noises and clawing at the door. I guess there was a lot of flux on this side from all the headers and resistors. Right, that's a lot better. Just give it a while to make sure it is properly dry before I plug it in. Of course, the ethyl acetate does like soaking into the PCB itself, around the edges, which is less than ideal, but it dries. Right, let's try and put some stuff away before I move on. Ah, yes. So Raspberry Pi is assembled, but we still need a case for it. Just rip it apart, Andrew, whatever. I don't seem to want to come apart nicely. Of course, before we can put that in, we need a SD card that's got software installed on it. So, let's go over here. Plug an SD card in. Oh, hang on, this was probably already got noobs on it. Let's double check, but I ordered this card from the Pi Hut and it came with the tree. Not to say that you get a Pi with a tree. I just ordered the Pi and a SD card with the tree. Removable disk. Yeah, that looks like noobs. So actually we don't need to switch to that at all. We can come back over here. Plug the SD card into there. And try and remember how to build these Pi bows. They are my favourite of cases. They're just simple and colourful and accessible. You can still get to all the GPIO from them and everything, so yeah. Right, this one is marked 0. Possibly visible, not sure. It's just got a 0 down there. So this is the bottom layer. Yeah, my mat's dried. Wondering if it still had ethyl acetate all over it, but no, it seems to have dried by now. So we should have a 1 somewhere. That's number 1. Number 2. And that's the top piece that doesn't have a number. And then there's this shim that goes underneath the Pi, because Pi is actually slightly thinner than the sheets of acrylic. Right, shim goes in the middle of number 1. Pi sits on top of that. Then number 2 goes on top of that lot, surrounding the Pi. They must have a job and a half cutting out or designing where to cut this acrylic around all of these components. That can't be easy. And they have to do it as quickly as possible with every new release of Pi as well, because the Pi Zero W is very slightly different in layout to the Pi Zero original, Pi Zero, or Pi Zero 1.3 or whatever it was. And then last layer. The one thing I don't like about the Pi Zero Pibos is that you can't get to the SD card without disassembling the entire case, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, but I can see why they did it. Without that, there's no holding it together at all, so it would just fall apart. That's just frustrating. It's not very often that you need to get to the SD card, but when you do, having to disassemble the entire case is a pain. I've noticed actually that this webcam volume is clipping. I'm sorry about that. Let's turn that down a bit. Hopefully that will be better. Alright, so we just have these nylon bolts, screws, whatever you want to call them, going through each of the 4 corner holes, and then being held in place with a nylon nut on the other side. Oh, come on. This is not wanting to screw in at all. Not without cross-threading, at least. Let's try the spare nut. Okay, there we go. Just want to double check which way around the thing is supposed to sit. Right, so the resistors, the presents of the tree, are supposed to sit facing this side of the Pi. So as you look at the front of the Pi, you can see the presents on the tree that way round. Of course, I don't want to do that yet. At this point, if it would be convenient if I had nearby a monitor or a spare monitor with HDMI in and a keyboard, so I could plug into this and set it up like that, but I don't. So instead I'm going to use this little thing, which is a serial adapter. You plug USB into there from a PC, and then it converts it to serial and connects it into a Pi through these sort of pass-through header things. So you just have to set that on the first, was it 5? We're at 10 pins of the Pi header. But that means I can't then sit the tree on top of that. So I'll have to set this up through, set this up and then program it and then plug the tree in, which shouldn't be an issue. So let's go back over to PC. And, sorry, we want to go get you over to the PC as well. Find a power cable for the Pi, and I hope that hasn't killed the stream. One of my monitors is super flaky. If you so much as touch a cable in the vicinity, I don't know, I think it's got flaky capacitors or something. So if you touch a cable nearby, the screen just goes black. It's a bit crappy. Has my PC found that yet? I think it's that. Serial COM6 open, and then plug in the Pi. Anything? Let's give it a minute. Just make sure it hasn't found another one. No. Oh, come on, this should work. They don't disable serial in native noobs or something, do they? That's quite annoying. Okay, other plan. Get Pi Bakery up. Sorry, just had to make sure it wasn't going to come up with any defaults that were going to be problematic, shall we say. On the first boot, don't need any of that. Try that. That. Enable a login console over GPIO serial. And then just try rebooting. Of course, we need the bloody SD card out of this, and that means disassembling the case. Annoying. This is what I mean. Should be H. Opened on the wrong screen. No, it looks more like it should be P. Not a clue what H is. Let's just go with P. Fine. Wow, we're being slow. What? Right, well this is going to be very exciting. So while that installs onto the SD card, I'm going to go and feed this cat who won't leave me alone. You can go and get a drink or something for yourself, I guess, and I'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm back, and that's still going. Very exciting stuff, I know. Of course, if you do just have a HDMI monitor and keyboard and mouse you can plug into the Pi, then do it that way. This is definitely not the quick way. It's just easier for me because, well, I don't have an HDMI input on anything around here. And even if I did, it would be nice to show you what I'm doing, which means serial for now. Ideally, I'd have an HDMI capture device, but I don't. Ideally, I'd also have some kind of HDMI connected microscope so that I could show stuff in detail without trying to make a camera focus with it repeatedly, which, as we've discovered, doesn't like happening. Let's turn the soldering iron off. That's not doing a lot anymore. Okay, the progress bar did briefly jump to 100%, and then it went back to where it is now at 50. What is it doing? Was that it finishing writing and it's now verifying or something? Because the other program I use for writing SD cards always fails to verify. While we wait, bring that back over here, I'm going to try sticking some of these transparent rubber feet on the bottom of this Pi, because the downside of the very tall header is that it sticks out the bottom somewhat. There we go, you can see that it sticks out the bottom, and even with the screws going through and the nuts and everything, you end up with it really not being balanced, and it just doesn't sit properly. So you can use feet like these to make it stand up and be stable. Yeah, I thought that might happen. It's all falling apart and going wrong. These feet are also a bit too big. Ah, it's a disaster. Never mind. Trying to get 4 spaced around so that it's actually stable, because if I just put one either side, it's just going to rock on those, isn't it? Of course, with the Christmas tree being balanced on that side where there aren't feet, that's going to be interesting. But short of sticking legs that really stick out over here of that side, I don't know quite what to do. please feel free to skip ahead a few minutes until, if you're watching this in the archive anyway. Not a lot of point in lots of us waiting for a progress bar to very slowly progress. I do have this, which I'm looking forward to having a bit of a play with at some point. Have a look at this while we wait for the progress bar. Wow, how is this supposed to come out? Oh, they wedged that in there well, didn't they? Yeah, so this is a Pimoroni pan tilt hat. Painlessly point a pi camera. Yes. So you've just got connections for 2 servos and well, a WS2812 lights. Don't recognise that chip. F15031ST 1631. Nope, not a clue. But anyway, you insert that on top of a Pi. Probably a full-size Pi, not a Raspberry Pi Zero. And then you get one of these, which is a pan tilt module, basically. 2 tiny little servo motors, and then that sits on there one way around or the other. I'm not sure which at the moment. And then you can, in software, control. You can put a camera in here, obviously. Sorry, that was the point. You put a Raspberry Pi camera in this bit, and then you can pan and tilt the camera around remotely. And then it comes with just a random bit of plastic for attaching those 8 LED NeoPixel strips, basically, so that you can have essentially like a coloured headlight on your pan tilt thing, on your pan tilt camera, which is cool. So shall be assembling that at some point. But for now, it's finished. Right, so that can go away. There is no disk and drive H, go away. So we can put that SD card back in the Pi, rebuild the Pi case, these screws are only going in there very loosely. I'll tighten them up later when I'm a bit more bothered. Serial adapter on. plug PC into serial adapter. Open serial console. And plug the Pi in. Sorry, just stuff falling off my shelves, as happens. Plug the Pi in and hope that it actually gives me a shell this time. It will take a while because it's got to boot into Raspbian first for the Pi Bakery scripts to run. And then once the Pi Bakery scripts run, it'll reboot, and then it should give me an actual shell login over serial. So again, we're sitting here waiting for the PC to do things. Well, not PC, but you know. I just want it to get working and have flashing lights on a tree, that's all. Ooh, there we go. It's rebooted, and this is this kernel spam that you get when it first boots. Although I'd expect more than one line, and that particular line doesn't look very happy. Okay, there we go. Raspberry Pi login. Pi, Raspberry. I spelt raspberry wrong. There we go. SSH is enabled and the default password for the Pi user has not been changed. Oh dear. Why is SSH enabled? Oh, it's enabled by default, isn't it? Okay. Sudo apt-get install python gpio0 and python 3 gpio0. Okay, let's do that. Which of course will take an age because it's a Pi 0. Well, that was worth doing, wasn't it? It's already installed. So, nice little quick Python script there. We don't have Vim, that's annoying. Of course, if SSH is enabled, then I don't need a serial console, do I? Let's remove that. Remove the little serial adapter. Bring this over here. Plug the tree in. Urgh! The tree is being stubborn. Oh my god. Okay, that's as far in as I'm pushing it, because it's not very going in very much at all. Okay, well that's apparently lit 2 LEDs. That's curious. Only 2 have lit. I'm not running the script yet, so I'm not expecting any of them to light. So let's go back over to the desktop. Oh, I didn't find out what the IP address of this Pi was, did I? So I can't show you getting me getting the IP address. Oh, of course, it doesn't have an IP address because it's not on the network yet. Of course, I'm an idiot. How are we doing this then? Because we want both at once. Options. Let's go with this option, the Mini Black Hat Hacker, aka plugging in 2 things at once. Yep, this is very tight. What the hell? Right. Plug the Pi into the Mini Black Hat Hacker. Plug the serial thing into this thing. Of course, I can almost guarantee the serial port and the tree are going to interact in bad ways. But no damage should come from it, it'll just misbehave and do silly things. Yep, we have more LEDs light. Yeah, we've got 3 this time. Exciting. Let's get you back over here. I could have always have set this script to run on boot or something like that, but for the time being, let's just run it from here. So I should just be able to go that. Do we need sudo? No, we've got a syntax error. That's exciting. It seems to be saying that GPIO0 doesn't exist, even though I've just been told that it does exist. Right. Are we on too old an OS or something? Yeah, it's expecting Stretch, not Jesse. That's annoying. I don't want to have to flash another SD card. That'll take ages. Okay, I had that lying around somewhere. So I'm going to have to go searching for that. No, I don't think I want to do that. There we go. And where is the other SD card? We're just not showing it up? That's exciting. Ah, too many start menus at once. Quite how Windows couldn't find SD formatter by me searching for SD is anyone's guess. This isn't finding it at all. There we go. We're starting to write another SD card apparently. In the meantime, let's see if we can make this work. Or unless we're running it with the wrong version of Python or something. That's apparently not the version. Okay, we do at least have Python 3. Let's try that. Ah, that works. It's possibly upsetting the serial console a bit. Yeah, the serial is definitely interacting badly with the tree. But mostly that's working. Okay. So you just need to run it as Python 3, not Python 2. That makes sense. Can I show this in a bit more of a 3D way? Not many LEDs on that side, are there? Oh no, it's just the two of them off, derp. Cool. Now I guess we just need to make sure it runs on boot, and then we can just sit it on Pi and reboot the Pi. Of course, I have a slight issue here in that it's killed the serial port entirely. I've lost control over serial because we now have loads of resistors and LEDs flashing in the way. Or more to the point, judging by that, the script has killed the serial port. Oh, fail. Okay, so I'm going to set this up to get on my Wi-Fi. And probably also works Wi-Fi, because I'll be taking this into work and using it there. Obviously I won't be showing that to you, so but I'll also set this script to run on boot, basically. So it should just be a case of rebooting the Pi and it'll flash and light up. But because it's going to kill the serial port every time it does that, I'll essentially be locking myself out over serial. So I need to make sure I've got SSH enabled and to make sure that it can actually get onto SSH. As in, it can connect to the network and then I can SSH into it. Because SSH enabled is unhelpful if it doesn't have network access, obviously. Right, let's get you back over here. So this is my exec.rc.local file, which is, it's a way of making things run on boot. It's not my preferred way, but it's a quick and easy way of doing it. So I've just written added a line in here that because it's going to steal the serial port and break the serial port, I've got this echo line to just warn that it's going to break. This may or may not work. I'm suspecting it won't. No, it probably won't actually, come to think of it, because that ampersand on the end is going to take it into its own process, background process somewhere. So I need to figure out some other way of having it be able to be cancelled so that it doesn't steal the serial port, or we have a way of it not stealing the serial port. I'll have a think about that. In the meantime, I've got SSH working. This is now over SSH instead of over serial. So that can work. So if I kill that, I'll leave that part up. Give the Pi a few seconds to shut down. Looks like it's already shut down. So it can pull this cable off. I think it's the header that I use, this really tall header. It's really a bit thicker than most header, so it's really, really tight to get stuff on and off. It's not even turned on and already the star is lighting up. Okay. Now in theory, we plug this in, we wait for it to boot. I give you a decent view of the thing again. And once it finishes booting, it should run that script and start flashing, in theory. For the time being, we just have to wait and hope. With no real feedback. Oh, yeah, look at that. That's kind of super flashy and stroby, actually. Especially that star. It's strobing in my eyes quite badly. Flashy. Awesome. And that's certainly an interesting perspective you're getting of it. Top down. Yeah, so I can now just have that at work. Yeah, just on my desk, flashing away at work. Hopefully where it won't annoy people too much by flashing in their eyes. I wonder how much power this thing is using. Where's my power meter gone? I always have a little USB power meter somewhere around my desk. And it appears to have been walkabout. Well, I have this new one, which does USB, or supposedly does USB Type-C as well. But in practice, I find that it doesn't do anything over USB Type-C at all. So I may be sending this back, or at least asking for a refund, because it came from AliExpress, where you don't really send things back. Unplug that. This thing does have a nice socket, so you can just plug any old micro USB thing into it there. And then find a USB cable from somewhere. Have I got one down here? Yes. No, oh no, it is. Yeah. USB cable. Right, you should be able to read that. 150 milliamps roughly at the moment, but that's without the LEDs lit. And it only goes up to 220-ish milliamps with all the LEDs going. So that will quite happily run plugged into a PC for power. No problem at all. Excellent. Yeah, so I can just plug that into probably my PC at work and have nice flashing Christmas tree at work. Yippee! And then at some point add stars as well. So I hope this has been interesting. If you're making your own, I hope it goes well. I've seen a lot of photos already. It's only been out 2 days. Loads of photos on Twitter of various builds, and it's quite fun. It's just a slightly geeky way of having Christmas decorations, I guess. Anyway, I need to be going to bed, and well, not so much going to bed as just going to flop and rest for a bit because I've been working all day, and I'm actually at work tomorrow rather than soldering stuff. So yeah, definitely need to relax a bit and then find some food. So I will see you around. Thanks for watching, and yeah, just yeah, bye.